Well, good afternoon and welcome back to another live iThemes training event. My name is Nathan Ingram. I'm the host here at iThemes Training, and we are joined today by Diane Whiddon. Diane helps healers and creatives succeed in their businesses without all the generic sleazy business strategies that you find some other places. And in working with her, they clarify their brand identity, so they're attracting their right people. And with her more than 13 years of brand and business development experience, they can create fun and easy business strategies so business success can happen without the angst and overwhelm that often follows. So Diane is a branding expert, and she's going to be talking about that with us today. Her processes and programs help her clients to enjoy their business and feel stoked about their gifts, their clients, their opportunities to contribute to the world. We've got Diane's website there in the chat room, dianewhiddon.com. If you haven't taken time to head over there and check a little bit more out about Diane, you can do that. But hey, Diane, welcome back to iThemes Training. We're glad you're back with us today.
Hey, Nathan, thanks so much. I'm really thrilled to be back.
Absolutely. It's been a few months since we've had you here, and we had several great webinars from you earlier this year. And I'm looking forward to this one today. Kind of give us a quick overview of what all we're going to talk about.
Well, we're going to talk about basically how you can self-assess how your brand is doing in the marketplace, how you feel about it, how your right people feel about it, and how it's growing your business for you or not.
That's awesome. And I think that's a lot of folks here are going to be excited about that. We had a check-in question during the pre-show just about, on a scale of 1 to 10, where are you on your own personal brand? 1 being lost, 10 being you have it nailed down. And the answers are sort of all across the board. And a lot of folks are saying, hey, hopefully this webinar is going to clarify some things. So I think we're going to do that. Again, if you're just joining us over in GoToWebinar, make sure you head over to the chat room. It's located there at ithemes.com/chat. We'll have a link for the slides there after the webinar today, so you'll be able to have a download of everything you see on the screen. And also, if you have a question as we go, please drop that there in the chat room as it comes to your mind, and I'll save it off to the side, and we'll go back out for questions and answers when we wrap up today. So I think that hits all the housekeeping stuff. Diane, looking forward to this. Let's talk about branding.
Awesome. All right. So, hey, everybody. Thanks so much for joining us today. Branding is obviously one of my favorite things to talk about. And yeah, particularly when we can do it for ourselves. You know, I heard that Nathan talking about that in the chat beforehand, that it's hard to find the time to do it for ourselves. And sometimes it's hard to do it for ourselves. We don't have a good mirror or reflection for it. So I gave you a lot of good tools and tips in this webinar to kind of help you through that process. So, and also I'm going to go ahead and jump in right here to the definition. But, you know, the other thing too, I know there are so many developers who are on this call. So we're also going to spend a little bit of time throughout helping you get a few tools to assess the brands of potential clients and customers, because if they don't know what their brand is, it can make it really hard to build a website for them or anything else. So, okay, so what is branding? So at the very, very basics, branding is just your business's promise. That's all it is. And it's how well people understand the promise. And then it's also their trust that you'll be able to deliver on it. Because sometimes every once in a while I'll see a brand where the right people get it, but they don't have faith that the person they're following can actually follow through on it. Either they haven't spent enough time establishing their expertise, or they're not spending enough time talking about their experience and what they've done, or establishing social proof with testimonials and stuff. So it's really those two parts: how well people understand the promise that you're making for the problem you're going to solve, and then their trust that you'll be able to deliver on it. And basically, it's just what people expect to get from working with you or buying your product. And it includes things like your logo, your color scheme, font styles, taglines. This is all the stuff that we think of when we think of a brand, right? But it also includes these intangible pieces like how you dress when you show up to meet clients, right? Or what your sense of humor is, you know, your level of formality, whether or not you're late or early, you know, how you deliver on your products and services. All those things also come into your brand as well. And that's a lot of stuff that usually people either don't think about when they're thinking about their branding, or they're not deliberate about it. So we're going to talk some more about that. And brands are built or ruined every time a customer interacts with your brand. So that's as simple as viewing your logo or like shaking your hand in person, right? So every time anyone has an interaction with your brand, it creates an experience for them. And when that experience is great, it creates loyalty and a desire to have a relationship with you. Now, you're going to hear me talk about this a lot in the next hour, because this is like the main purpose of a good brand. It's to inspire people to have a relationship with you, to seek you out, to read your articles on HuffPo, or to subscribe to your newsletter, or come to your workshops, or whatever it is that you're offering, or to buy more products, right? Every time they do that, they're building on their relationship with you, and a really good, solid brand establishes that before you even do any marketing. So a good brand strategy is the ultimate marketing accelerator. And if you're trying to market, but you're not really clear on what your brand is, you're probably wasting a lot of time and effort. And an audit is an assessment of how that whole process is working. So right there, I hope we can kind of see like how important it is. And so if you're a developer, this is like what I was mentioning, right? I mean, it's really hard to build a website for somebody who doesn't know what they need. Like, one of the main questions that I think a lot of people miss when they're getting a website is like, what's the website's goal? You know, like, what do you want the website for? And a lot of people don't know. They're just, it's just a check in the box, right? They're like, oh, I want a website because I'm supposed to have one. And they don't think about it further than that. And so, like, if they don't know what their identity is, if they don't know like what their promise is, what problem they solve, who they solve it for, it's really hard to build a website for them. Or you could even build them a great website, but if it doesn't do what they need, they're not going to be happy with it. And that doesn't make for fun web development. You know, we want our clients to be happy and be served by what we're doing. So understanding their brand, and maybe even helping your client understand their brand with just a few quick, simple things, is going to make your job a lot easier and more fun. Okay. And then if you're just you and you're doing this process for you to understand your brand better, and it's really just understanding this relationship piece. You know, you just want your brand to be doing a lot of work so that your marketing doesn't have to do all the heavy lifting itself. I'll talk to people sometimes and they wait to do the entire sales process, the entire relationship building process, like on a sales call. They're like, I'm not going to worry about any of that until I get them on the phone. And I'm like, wow, like, you're missing a ton of opportunities to tell your right people that they are, that you are the right person for them, like eons before you actually get them on the phone. So, all right, let's dive into some basic bits for this. Okay. So understanding the point of a great brand, and like understanding that the audit is assessing this whole thing that we've been talking about. Let's look at section 1. So I've got 4 sections that we're going to go over. Branding usually goes from this like kind of esoteric, like touchy-feely kind of woo-woo stuff down into more and more concrete stuff. That's just how it always seems to me. Like, we spend time like, you know, what are you really good at, and what problem do you solve in the world, and what are you taking a stand for? And then it drills down into, okay, so now how does your color scheme reflect that? How do your client interactions reflect that? So just so you know what to expect, that's what's coming. So this messaging and positioning is really talking about the details of that promise, that message, and how well people get it. And the foundation for all of it, for everything, is your differentiation strategy. This is one of the most important things that we will cover. And if you do nothing else when you're doing brand work, if you just do this one bit for every client, you're going to get a lot of information. So this is called a lot of things in the marketing world: brand drivers, USP, which is unique selling proposition. And let's jump into the definition. So this is actually what separates you from your competition in the marketplace. This is how you are perceived differently from other people who are in your industry, from your competition. It is literally what differentiates you from other people. And so I've given you some exercises here to figure out what that is for you. So you want to list, oh, you know what, and I think I actually have these opposite. Let's start with the questions first. So what are you awesome at? How are you different from your competition? And what problem do you solve? And then list the main points to emphasize in marketing, copy, and content that convey how you're different and probably better than your competition, both inside your industry and outside of it. So what you're looking for is everything here that differentiates you from your competition, that makes you different, that makes you unique, and understand that the things that make you different and unique are probably going to make you better as well. And here's my key for this. Let's go ahead and go to the next slide because I have another point I want to make on this. So when we talk about brand drivers or differentiation strategy, my approach is to always come at this from what are your gifts? What are your geniuses? What are your talents and skills? So it's not just a matter of looking at what makes you different from your competition. It's also this inner work, this inner identification of what really makes you awesome. What do you love about what you do? It's so funny. One of the things I notice with my clients is that it's so easy for us to discount our gifts, right? And this is where some mirroring or reflection could really be helpful. Because when, something comes really easily to us, we tend to discount it. We're like, well, but I can do that, but can't everybody? And it's like, no, not everybody can make an entire room full of people feel comfortable, or can make, can write 2,000 words a day, or can develop code and problem solve when things get sticky. I personally can't do that. Code drives me nuts. But it's seriously, it's like looking at the things that you love and really, really deeply enjoy, and acknowledging that those are your genius. And that's what we're going to build the whole brand on. That is like the foundation of your brand strategy. And if you are not crystal clear on exactly what those things are and what the language is that you're using to express those gifts to your right people and like to get out into the world, your brand audit's just going to reveal that you're being ineffective at that piece. So, and I'll give you a couple extra questions too. So aside from, we could go back and look at the other slide really quickly. So these are great questions. What are you awesome at, right? How are you different from your competition? What problem do you solve? This one's critical, right? What problem do you solve for your right people? What's the main thing? And here's the thing. Let's say you're a developer. What's the main problem that you solve? Or, a web designer, right? What's the main problem do you solve? Is it really that you just give a website to people who don't have them? Because I tell you, I know a bunch of web designers and everybody has their own unique thing that they do. Like when I was a designer, my big thing was I worked with a lot of writers and creatives and stuff. And my whole gig was I will design you a website that looks exactly like your writing feels. Like people will land on the website and they will immediately get a sense of what your writing is like. But, clean code and all the techie things, not my genius. I hired all that stuff out as quickly as I could. But it's like, so it wasn't just that I was giving people a website. I was giving people a certain kind of experience. Maybe you just give people websites where the whole experience of getting a website is really safe and easy and comfortable for them, right? Websites terrify people. So anyway, so it's really honing into what is really unique about you. And you find those points by honing in on what you really love about your job. Okay, so here's the key. This is why we spend so much time on this one point. This is why this one's so expensive, is this is the money maker. If you can't differentiate yourself from your competition, you have no option but to differentiate yourself with price. So this whole section, now the whole messaging and positioning section, which is all of this section 1, but specifically your differentiation point, this gives you the leverage you need to price according to what you need to deliver on your promise. So this is where, and we'll get into your why a bit later in the presentation, but one of the things I say all the time is like, when you realize what you really want to take a stand for in the world, what you're really doing here on the planet. When you get really crystal clear on your values, you want your actions to line up with those values. And you want to sit down and like really think about, look, if this is really my mission in the world, what do I need to make this happen on as big a scale as is appropriate for me so that I can really enact this change, so I can really show up and do my work. And sometimes, a big piece of what you need is a lot of money. Money is just a resource, it's tools, right? So maybe you need a lot of money, or you need a certain kind of lifestyle, or a certain number of hours off a week so you can recuperate. whatever it is. But when you start looking, you can't even get close to that question until you really answer this, until you're really, really clear on your particular gifts and offering to the world. Okay, all right, so that's probably enough on differentiation strategy, at least for right now. Okay, and so here's what I've done. So to give you an idea of like how you can answer these questions, and also what I recommend that you do for you is I recommend that you don't just write these answers down in you know, a notebook or something, or a piece of paper or a journal like somewhere on your computer. I recommend that you create a document of these answers that you can come back to over and over again, that will create a foundation for you. Like it's like a touchstone for future business decisions and stuff. Now I call them, now they're technically, one of the names for them is like a brand style guide or brand book. I call them brand soul guides because I'm all about the soul of your business, and that I want your business to be driven by your soul and your work in the world. So this is what I've done. So I created a style guide for my business, and this is like one of the slides. And I've given you a few of these to give you some context. And I've marked them all with this like pink bar at the bottom, so you can kind of set them apart. And like, here's how I did it. I just wrote out, just in plain language, my gifts, right? And we know that this is practical marketing work, but I still like to call it my gifts. And so if you look at what I wrote here, so I said to create experiences where my clients can discover and articulate their gifts, get clear on their purpose, and take bigger risks. And I say, really, I just try to model for them how they should treat themselves and their businesses. And then I get cute and I make a fun joke. And here's the thing, I've spent a few lines on that. And then I have another piece here to inspire people to say no to what isn't serving them. To me, this goes with the first one. You can't really honor your gifts if you're doing work that compromises you in the world, if you're doing stuff you hate and you're putting up with things you don't want to be doing. So my work is about both honoring your gifts and like your wants and your needs, and stop doing the stuff that you don't want to do anymore. And then here at the bottom, I put, I also know a bunch of stuff about branding and marketing, 13 years, blah, blah, blah. So here's the deal. This is why I say this whole thing to you and bring it up, is because, you know, I have taken all of the marketing classes. I've been doing this a long time. I am a brand ninja. I am stealing that, Nathan. I love that. Ninja. I am a brand ninja. That's so cute. But anyway, that is not what differentiates me from all the other brand and business coaches out there, right? So that's why I just kind of put it down at the bottom here. What differentiates me is this, that I really have this inside out approach to business. So that's why I spent a lot of time here. So anyway, just giving you guys a little bit of framework on that piece. And obviously, I mean, look, like, I mean, this is the font. This is really similar to the font that's on my website, or it might be the exact font. And then, like, you know, I've got a little kid back here, like giving a bouquet of flowers, right? That's how it feels to me, like, you know, giving your gifts to the world, like really showing up and saying, this is what I love to do the most. And acknowledging that you get to be paid the most money for doing the stuff that's really fun and easy for you. So anyway, okay, cool. So let's keep going. Okay, so another piece that you can do on top of that is a positioning statement. Now, this is just like a formal statement that's a little bit denser than just listing out all your gifts. And it just answers the questions, what is unique about what you offer? And I've given you a little formula here, right? So for my right person who has this problem, my service provides this. And unlike my competition, this is what differentiates you, my service offers these things. Okay. And so I actually did one for me. Again, like, we've got a little kid dancing in the ocean or splashing about in the ocean. This is how I want your business to feel. And you can read that. Okay, well, here, unlike other business experts, my services offer marketing and sales strategies that feel good and are actually fun to use, right? I don't know of any other off the top of my head, business coaches and brand experts who are talking about marketing feeling good. Like, it should feel good in your body. It should feel awesome, actually. I mean, God, think about it, right? You're talking up and you're showing up and talking about like how special you are and how unique and how amazing you are at what you do. Like, that's fun. Okay, so anyway. Okay, primary demographic. Okay, so now we've got your USP. We've got your unique selling proposition, your differentiation strategy. We've got your gifts. The people who need exactly that are your primary demographic. Now I wax poetic about this all the time, so you've probably heard me say this before, but it's normally when I draw your what and your who, they're like puzzle pieces that they should fit together exactly. And my whole thing is that this is part of the saying no, right? You don't have to contort yourself to fit into what other people want. You're actually allowed to like totally find the people who need exactly what you most want to give. That's really how the best business works, because then business building is easy. So your primary demographic, who needs your product, service, and what problem do they have? Now keep in mind, they don't just need your product or service, but they need the exactness of what makes you unique. They need that. They need the exact thing that you're offering. So here's some questions to drill down into that. So who needs your solution? It might not be who you think. Actually, take time to answer that question. What is the main problem you solve for them? And this question is actually what you hear a lot when people talk about relevance, when they talk about brand relevance. If you don't solve a problem for someone, you are irrelevant to them. I mean, literally, right? The service that you offer or your product or whatever becomes irrelevant. And it doesn't matter how amazing it is. If it doesn't solve a problem that they perceive that they have, they're not going to buy it. They're not even going to spend time getting to know you. It has to be relevant to them. So really take some time getting to know that question for yourself. And then how do you connect with them? So we know who they are, but like, where do you find them? You know, and specifically, what language do you use to demonstrate that you get them and their problem? This is the section where we really, really go into copywriting, right? This is your messaging and positioning. So this is where we get strategic and technical about what language are you using that reaches out to them. Because even if you're really clear on all the rest, if you're not using really specific language that they can recognize and identify with, they're not going to think that you get their problem. And that's the key. That is the key to sales. You know those annoying poll questions at the top of a sales page? Do you get tired? Are you hungry sometimes? Does traffic annoy you? You know, whatever. Like, those questions are so annoying and they seem cheesy and ridiculous unless they're speaking to you. If you are that person's right person and you're reading those questions and you're nodding your head the whole time, chances are they get you, they get your problem, you're going to find a solution there. So you keep reading. So anyway, when the language is right, it really sells because it lets people know that you identify with them. And so we don't have to spend a ton of time here, but like, this is like my right people, this is how they feel. They're like trying to shine their light, but they're like underwater. It's like, it's not easy. You know, they keep thinking they have to do it somebody else's way. And so I spent time writing down, what are their thoughts? What are their feelings? And what are their beliefs? And these kind of stack on top of each other. Beliefs comes from feelings, feelings come from thoughts. So this is like a really good exercise. And man, this is rich copy. This gives you the words. Apathetic. I mean, I got a lot of clients, you know, who are like, ugh, it's marketing. I'm just not any good at that. You know, they just like dismiss it outright, right? So writing that down and understanding that is good for me to know. And then urgency is really critical, you know, understanding that like how urgent their problem is. Because guess what? If their problem isn't urgent, you're not going to do well in your business. There's just no way around it. If there's nothing compelling them to click buy, it's just not going to work. So make sure that you're clear on the urgency as well. And then, yeah, this leads right into copywriting. So copywriting, so as you're looking at copywriting, you want to, and we're going to talk about website more in detail in a second, but part of a good brand audit is just going through all of the copy that exists in someone's business, whether it's a client or it's yours, and just analyze it. Like, how well are you identifying with your right person's pain or problem and explaining the solution that you provide? How well are you doing that? How clear is your language? How specific? And how much does it match your brand? Like, is it informal? Is it fun? Is it, you know, really elegant or streamlined? You know, what's the gig? So let's see. So let's go into these questions for a second. So where is the copy measuring up and not with your positioning, right? With that differentiation piece. Where's the copy not doing a great job at establishing the differentiation strategy and giving clear calls to action relevant to the business goal? Now, there's a lot here, so let's just unpack it really quickly. Really great copy ends with a call to action. Really great. I mean, there's no sense in getting someone to identify with you and then not telling them what to do next, even if it's just, hey, read another post, right? Like technically, like a related post plugin at the bottom of a blog is a call to action. But you're creating a relationship with them. Every time they read another blog, they're investing in you, right? They're spending their time, effort, and energy on you. That's an investment for most people, for everyone, right? So, okay, and so is that call to action relevant to the business goal? I've met so many people, like they, they got a hold of some marketing guru who was like, build your list, you have to build a huge list or you can't make any money. And then I sit down with them and they don't have any cash flow. And I'm like, you don't need to be building your business right, or building your list right now. You need to be building your business. You need to be giving people free consultations or getting people in the door, getting people to make appointments. You need your calls to action to reflect what you need in your business right now. So make sure that all that works. Make sure that your copy makes a promise because it clearly identifies the problem and the solution you're going to provide, that it appeals to your primary demographic, and that it gives a call to action relevant to what you want to happen in your business. So you want all those pieces in place, and you just want to do pretty much a global look, right? You want to look at websites, business cards, brochures. If you do events, you want to look at the copy that's on anything you bring to events. Do you have a banner behind you? What's back there, Okay. In-store copy, what's in your store, right? If you're brick and mortar. And then this is just another side, does the bio tell the story or positioning of the business or owner? I think we go into that more in the website section, but yeah, like, does the bio tell a story that the right person can identify with, that they can relate to? And are the features and benefits clear? Pay particular attention to calls to action. Features and benefits, I go into this in a lot more detail on the sales page talk that I did a few months ago. But features and benefits, in case you don't know, and I would encourage you to look it up because this is such a foundational point of copywriting. Features are what the thing is. Benefits are why do I care? So features are the coffee maker has a timer. Benefits are I get to sleep in for 10 more minutes. Yay. And obviously in that case, I don't really care that the coffee maker has a timer. But as soon as you frame it into a way it's going to make my life better, well, that's awesome. So benefits actually sell. Benefits compel calls to action. Features don't, typically. But features are important. A lot of people skip over features, but features are what gives people the idea of what to expect from working with you. So features are important. You got to tell people, what it is or what's happening or what's going on. Okay, so enough on copyright. I could talk about copywriting for many, many days, but that's the kind of stuff you're looking for in your audit. So these next two slides are a couple slides that I made for me. And these are just the kinds of things that I would encourage you to do for your messaging and positioning. And I kind of brought these up because I got a little creative with them. So I list out the problem, right? And the problem is my clients are constantly trying to protect themselves, which always leads to crappy business decisions. So it looks like living small, taking only the risks we know we can win at, looking good, being more concerned with ourselves than with our service. And, this is hard. It sucks. It's not fun to live this way or run your business this way. And it sacrifices a lot of us. And so here's what I did. So I included some pictures over here, like, these pictures here. This is what a lot of my clients do. When you're not driven by like inspiration and hope and generosity and service, you're in this place of like, suck it up, just do it, get in there. And, it's usually not a good recipe for ease and fun and play. And then they're putting on happy faces, and then they're usually overwhelmed. So this is just the kind of thing that I would encourage you to do for your business, like create something here that you can look at that clearly outlines the problem and like gives you some visual hits of, oh, that's right, that's who this is for. So every time you create a new workshop or you're creating a new product, you can be like, oh, this is who I'm aiming it at. And, I've had some people put songs on them, like little songs or tracks, like a link to something on YouTube or something that they can listen to, which I just love. I think that's awesome. Okay, and so the solution. It's for them to be fully engaged, right? It looks like running a business that's in alignment with them, when the soul's leading the way, is when my clients fully trust their intuition. And when they're more concerned with service, the service they're giving the world than with protecting themselves from failure, we've done our job, right? And this is what it feels like. I mean, it feels like playing catch. It feels. I love this picture. I love this picture so much. I have used this so many times, and this is kind of what I'm talking about with finding something that really reflects your business. Because every time I look at this picture, I'm reminded of what I do in the world. This one too, somewhat, but really this one, because I do love strategy. I love strategy. I love financial statements. I love analytics, but I really, really love how that stuff reflects how well you're living from your heart and how well you are enjoying yourself and really fully showing up. And so like riding a skateboard on a ramp, there's this free fall, this sense of play, this sense of just joy and being in the moment. But there's also precision and focus, right? I think there's a lot of joy in thinking strategically. There can be a lot of fun and anticipation in thinking strategically. And so every time I see this picture, just this one picture, it really brings back to me what my work is about and who my right people are and what I bring. And this is the kind of stuff that you're looking for to build your brand book out of, is these things that remind you of who you are, because it's easy to get off track. I look at this stuff all the time, and it's easy to kind of get lost and to, you're launching a new program or you're launching a new product, and it's so easy when you're vulnerable to get caught up in, oh, what are people going to think? And they're going to reject it. And all the old stories, right, come up. And so this is when you come back to this, and it's like, no, like there are people who need this, and there are things that I show up with that are needed in the world. And it just reconnects you to that like place of fullness. So anyway, that's enough on that. Okay, cool. So that's section 1, messaging and positioning. And it's really heart-centered and it's kind of woo-woo work, but it's really, really critical to dive deep and get clear on what you want to affirm about yourself, because that's what you're going to be doing every time you go out in the world and market yourself. You are affirming certain things about you. The more aligned that message is with who you really are, the happier and more effective you are going to be. Okay, so section 2, values and brand inspiration. Now, we've done the language work and the heart-centered work. We're going to get a little bit more esoteric here before we start to get specific. But this one's quick. So now that we have an idea of the problem you solve and the things you love doing, we're going to dive a little bit deeper into your brand's inspiration. So this is based on your values. And if you've seen that Simon Sinek talk, which I just love to pieces, where it's how great leaders inspire action. And he talks about how people don't buy what you do, they buy why you do it. And people literally affirm themselves with their pocketbook, right? Do people use pocketbooks anymore? I guess. Okay. All right. So it's a purse. Yeah. Anyway, sidetrack. So people affirm who they are and what they care about by what they spend their money on. So it's a good idea to spend a little bit of time thinking about what your values are and what you're taking a stand for in the world. Ultimately, it's what your buyers identify with and affirm for themselves every time they buy from you. This is so mission critical, because people think that we make decisions in the rational part of our brain, but we don't. They've proven it. We make decisions in the emotional part of our brain, and we let the thinking part rationalize it. So understanding what you're taking a stand for in the world, what change you are wanting to create and make, it helps you because it gives you that bigger drive and that bigger sense of service, but it also really helps your right people identify you. So what are your values? You can look up, I recommend looking up, like just Google list of values. And there's a bunch of people who have like 80 or 90 values, and you just go through and pick. And mine seem to change every year, but they're usually some version of like joy, self-acceptance, love, self-actualization, these kinds of things, right? And then what are you taking a stand for, which could be a brand purpose statement. We have something like that in here. And then are there stories that illustrate this? This is where I love for people to break out any stories of clients. Like usually this is a story of like you working with one of your favorite clients and like how it felt to you. Like not just what it was like for the client, but how it felt to you. How did you feel you were contributing? You know, that kind of thing. And also look at testimonials. And if you don't have a lot of testimonials, first of all, go back and listen to the iThemes webinar where I talk about testimonials, because you should have many. And then go out and get some testimonials, because you will get some of that mirroring and reflection that you need to help you identify your gifts and what you're great at and what you love. Okay. So instead of like a value statement, I kind of put a mission statement here. This is more or less my mission statement. I teach entrepreneurs how to tap into their soul's intelligence for business and marketing decisions, because those work the best and they're the most fun, right? And then this is the picture that I use, because honestly, that's how I want my clients to feel all the time. They don't always appreciate that about me, but that's how I want it to feel. So, okay, so that's the kind of thing you want to write up, something like that, that says what you really are taking a stand for. And if we go back, like the thing I'm taking a stand for, right, is that you don't have to do what anybody else tells you to do in your business. I mean, my God, if there's anything I'm taking a stand for, it's that. You get to do what you want to do, and you get to let your intuition be your guide, or your gut, or your whatever. Like that gets to guide your business decisions, because man, that just feels good. I mean, that's the way to do it. Okay. Brand personality. How is your brand? How is this why, these values? How is this delivered to your right people? And this is where I want you to start looking at some of the ways that you show up. And it's worth noting, I think I've talked about this before in a couple webinars, but I'll touch on it really quickly. The difference between conscious and unconscious branding. So conscious branding is anything that we do deliberately, right? And this is when a lot of people like, you know, my logo, my color scheme, my, you know, whatever, my brochure, that they think of that as their brand. But like I was saying, a lot of your brand is just how you show up. You know, part of my brand is I talk a lot and fast. That's just part of my brand. That's how I show up. It's what I do. Some people don't like that, but that's how I show up. They're just not my right people. Maybe they love my content, but they can't come to my workshops or my webinars. You know, they need to like read my blog posts or read my ebooks, you know. Those are good things to identify. Like, what are you? One of my definitions of branding is anything you repeatedly do. Anything you repeatedly do, because every time you do something, you're giving people that experience of you. And if you do it over and over again, you're telling people, hey, this is how I'm going to show up. Do you like it? Do you not? You know? Anyway, and that's how people will self-select in or out of their relationship with you. Okay, so this is where I want you to think of like, how is your brand reflected in your customer interactions, your writing voice, your overall visual representation online and in person and in your store if you're brick and mortar, all those things. Start to think about how your values are showing up in everything around you. And then, and so I did one. Okay, so to give you an idea of this, right? This is one of my slides. I'm all about gentle love and fierce self-acceptance. I express as much truth as I can, and my brand execution demonstrates that. I use the smallest, most accurate words possible, and I deliver my message with as little fluff and as much humor as I can. So see how I did that there? Like, I'm looking, part of my brand is like showing up, being really direct and telling the truth. Because, you know, my work is all about a move towards authenticity. And I'm recognizing that shows up, not just in my message and the things that I say, but it shows up in how I say it, right? So I you know, writing that down. Oh yeah, there are things about how I do what I do that illustrate my values. And then here you go, you know, yeah. There's more that you can read there if you want to. Okay. So that was basically just values, and you're just trying to, and you don't have to dive super deep, but you're really just trying to get a sense of why you do what you do. What is the greater goal that you're moving towards? And again, it's what gets you towards that sense of service, which is such an abundant state to be in. So, okay, section 3, design standards. Now, this is typically what people think about when they think about brand, are these kinds of things. So in terms of just visuals on your website, how well is your brand executed in the visual look and feel of your business? You just want to look at it, you know, just check out your site, you know, examine the logo, tagline, color scheme, and fonts. everything that's on your website, just the visual, the organization of it, the UX, the journey that a customer gets on, like when they land on your homepage, is it really, really clear what you want them to do, what you want them to click next, and next, and next, and next? Is there a clear journey mapped out for them on the website that gets them to your business goal? Those are the kinds of things that you want to look at. And not just that get you to your business goal, right? But that also gives them an experience of you solving their problem. So the main problem that you're trying to solve, you want to give them an experience of that getting solved the more they interact with you, right? So anyway, if maybe I could do a webinar just on that piece, because that's worth a lot of time. We could spend at least an hour on just that piece alone, right? And then I've just given you a little slide about like what you might consider when you're looking at your logo. And I've got design standards down here, but really what I want you to look at is like, it's clear, it's funky, you know, this is pretty informal. Obviously I am, it's all lowercase, like there's nothing like this doesn't look intimidating. It looks fun. It's really clean. It's dramatic a little bit, which I'm happy with. I like my clients being like, get out there and be big, you know, be dramatic. It's all right. Feel your feelings, you know? Okay. And I don't take myself too seriously, right? That's all pretty much conveyed by the logo itself. So you want to do something like this for colors, for organization, for UX, all that stuff that I mentioned, right? Like think it through at least a little bit, just write a sentence or two about each thing. Is this delivering the message or not? And again, you know, if you've got a few holes here and there, it's not like it's a nightmare or anything. It's not horrible. It's not going to kill your whole business, but you're missing an opportunity to really drive your brand home and really be clear about what you're here to do and what problem you solve. You know what, actually, and I'm thinking on that, you know what, I was going to do here, let me go back, because I don't know where I was talking about unconscious branding. Oh, it was in the whys and stuff. The whole thing about the why, your values and those kinds of things, the conscious versus unconscious branding piece, I was just going to make the point that like one of the pieces, back to the differentiation strategy, one of the places where people do the most unconscious branding is their price. People don't really always think about what their price conveys about what they do. If you aren't clear on your differentiation and your pricing is really, really super low, because that's the only way you can stay in business, you're kind of giving the message that your product or service might not be as valuable as you say it is, right? There's an incongruence there. So anyway, just food for thought on how unconscious branding can sabotage you and sabotage your business. Oh, and you know, I wrote down another point I wanted to make. I'm going to go ahead and make it. It's out of order, but I'm going to do it. You know how I was talking about like understanding where you are, that differentiation piece, and understanding where you are in terms of other people in your industry. You also want to think outside of your industry too. And for example, let's say you're a web designer. You're not just competing against other web designers. You are also competing against people who design Facebook pages, business Facebook pages, right? Or who design, I don't know, Eventbrite things or something like that. Because there are in these little pockets, you know, these theories that you don't need a website. Oh, who is it? Casey Neistat. Have you been to his website? You guys should Google that, look it up real quick. It's got like a homepage, it's all white, and it just says really clearly, I don't know why I have a website. This doesn't make sense to me. But you know, and then he's got links to all his social media. And you know, Casey is a creation machine. I mean, he is just living his brand full out. I don't know if he knows how clear he is on it. But man, I mean, his brand is super consistent because he is just creating straight from his inner kid, like constantly. But so in a way it works. If you're on YouTube, you see his YouTube stuff. You know, if you're on another social media platform, you see the stuff he creates there and does there. And to a certain degree, it's fine. People are consuming his content in the way that works for them. but I don't think I would have to explain to anybody on this call the value of having a hub for all of that, right? And a place where you could clearly declare your brand, your messaging, your positioning. You could link to all those things in a way that created a great experience for the user. Anyway, okay, so food for thought. But you're competing against people who are telling people like Casey, you don't need a website. So it might be worth creating some content around, hey, websites are cool. They're good. They're going to help your business, you know, in ways a Facebook business page never could. Okay. Again, I'm probably preaching to the choir there, so I can probably move on. Okay. Okay, so website. So we talked about visuals, and so now we're going to look at content. So how well is your brand executed in the content? Now, this is going to overlap with the copywriting, right? So copywriting in general, we're looking at how well is the differentiation strategy being conveyed in the copy? How well is the promise being made and understood? But then specifically, we want to look at every page of someone's website and see, is each page delivering that in its organization, in its layout, in the copy, in the calls to action, you know, all those things. And yeah, here I have it again. Does the about page tell a story that your right person can relate to? You know, it's so funny. I've talked about this before, that like typically the journey that people go on when they make a purchase is they land on the landing page, they look at the thing that you're selling to see if they can afford it. If they can, they go to your about page, read about you, see if they like you, right? This is the Simon Sinek piece there. Do I get this person? Is she my friend? Would I want to hang out with her? Yes. Okay, I'm going to go buy her thing. And so the about page is a place that people usually really miss to do some great identification with your customer. I mean, this is like where a lot of sales take place. So is there a clear call to action at the bottom of your about page, sending them to the thing you're selling? And do you tell a story? Do you tell a story of your own stuff, your own company, your own whatever, that the buyer can relate to, and that says to the buyer, hey man, this person gets me and like understands what I'm going through. They can totally solve my problem. And that's where the sales happen. And are there clear calls to action that support an overall? Yeah, there we go. Again. Okay, marketing and content strategy. So above and beyond the content on your website, we want to look at any content you're creating and like what kind of funnel that's in, right? How well are you establishing yourself as likable and an expert? So likability and expertise establish trust, right? So like, are you cool and do you know what you're talking about? That's really all it is. Be yourself and say what you know, and it's done. It's not really more complicated than that. A lot of people miss it. But how well are you doing those two things in your content? A lot of times people will spend a lot of time talking about their likability. They'll spend a lot of time telling their story, not enough time talking about what they know. Or they'll spend way too much time talking about what they know, but never talk about what's really important to them. You really need a balance of both. And then, are you creating free content that solves your right person's main problem? So are you creating content that they can absorb, blog posts they can read, or ebooks, or any kind of anything that they can be exposed to that's going to solve their problem? And here's the thing too, it doesn't have to be complicated. Like, you know, on Facebook and Instagram, I create all these little pretty photos just because I like doing it. I take pretty photos from Unsplash, they're awesome free stock photos. And I put a little quote on them, just a little inspirational quote. And you know, to me, they're pretty and the quotes are meaningful. And a lot of people don't like quotes, or they wouldn't like that style of photo. It doesn't matter. I'm really doing it just because I enjoy creating them. And it solves a problem for my right person. You know, a lot of times people are on social media because they're bored. Maybe they're bored. But a lot of times people will just skim through Instagram or Facebook because they're feeling insecure and they need a little like hit. They need a little emotional hit. And they're like getting ready to launch something, or they're getting ready to publish a blog post and they're freaking out and their nervous system's blown out. So a little kind word from me is creating some of that experience for them, right? So it doesn't have to be like, you know, it doesn't have to be a big, huge deal. It's just you're creating those experiences over and over again that establish you as likable and an expert. And so, and again, like I'm not talking about how much I know about marketing or branding, but again, that's not my differentiation strategy, right? Like when people work with me, clearly I'm an expert. I know what I'm talking about. But the thing that sets me apart is I want to create this experience of, hey, go easy on yourself, have a little fun, dive in, enjoy yourself. It's okay. And so every time they read one of these little photos and has that experience, it's building my brand. Okay. Are there clear calls to action that support your overall goal for your website and business growth? Again, I know I hit on this all the time, but like, seriously, you need to know what your goal is for your business, or the brand strategy doesn't matter. You got to make sure that they match. And is there a funnel in place that drives people to the primary thing that you want to sell? Oh, and yeah, let's talk about margins really quick. So a lot of people, a lot of people don't know where the best margins are in their business, or they don't know what is easiest and most fun for them to do. Like they haven't identified it. And this is good information for you to have because you don't want to spend all your time selling something that isn't fun for you to do just because you think you have to, right? And you don't want to spend all your time selling something that's got crappy margins because you're just wasting time, effort, and energy. So you want to keep an eye on, if you're selling products, what are the best margins? And if you're selling a service, what's the most leveraged? What's the most easy? What's the most fun? And make sure you're selling that, and that there's a funnel in place, that there's this driver, right, through your whole business or your website to get people to buy those things. Okay, social media, obviously. Now this is pretty basic, right? Taking everything we've already covered, and you're just how you went through your website, you're gonna go through the social media platform. How's your brand portrayed? Is it congruent? Do the images match? It's so funny. I had this one assistant for a while, and she was a brilliant writer, but she had the weirdest taste in stock images. And she would get these like corporate looking kind of weird generic images, and she'd put them in my newsletter and stuff, and it always made me cringe. And of course, this was years ago, and I didn't have a brand style guide that I could have given her to say, hey, this is what we do. And actually, that's one of the slides that you can create. I don't think I put it in this one, but that's one of the slides that you can create is, what kind of stock images do you do? Are they high contrast? Are they muted tones? Are they corporate-y? Do they look, whatever, right? And anyway, you give it to your staff, right? You give it to your staff. Like, this is what we do. These are the design standards around the logo, and this is how you talk about what we do. This is the mannerisms I want you going for when you talk to clients. So anyway, these things are gold. I love them. But anyway, okay. And are you still speaking to the main problems of your right people? Is there engagement, purchases? Oh yeah, right. The gurus that are like, we'll get you 10,000 Facebook followers, but none of them are going to buy anything. All those services where they promise tons of Twitter followers or whatever. And I guess that looks good if you're really concerned about your image, but if they're not engaging or they're not buying anything, what's the point? You just wasted a bunch of money. Maybe you win the popularity contest, but who cares? If it's not helping your bottom line, it's not helping. And the other thing, I didn't put it on here, but it's worth noting if the social media platform itself matches what your client does. So like, for example, years ago, or what you do, years and years ago, I was only on Twitter. I did some Facebook stuff, but I was really only on Twitter because I built websites for writers. And Twitter at that time didn't do videos or photos or anything. It was just words. And all of my clients were on Twitter. They weren't on, I think, like Picasa or Imgur or some of those, that were popular at the time. I didn't have any clients on there, because they didn't take pictures of anything ever. They lived in their caves and wrote books, like I did. So it was just that they just wanted to write, They were great clients. They never talked to me on the phone either. They only wanted to send emails. That was fun. Okay, I'm a little bit of a hermit, in case you didn't know. Okay, so product, services, and events. Is your brand congruent and effective on the main thing that you do? Okay, and so again, this is just a global look. We're just looking at everything, like product labels. Look at the product label. Is it congruent? Are services delivered in a way that matches the brand promise? Like, I've seen so many people, right, who just like dump the product, like they just send the product to the person, like they get it in the mail and it doesn't have a nice note, or the packaging isn't branded at all, or whatever. And it's like, that's not what you want. Or if it's a digital product, do they just like get the info, and there's no like, hey, here's what to expect from using this, and you know how to use it, and great job, you finished it, and now here's on to the next thing. You know, like, how again are you creating the experience of your brand in everything that you're doing? Branding and events, workshops, this is all pretty basic. Oh my gosh, it's like 5 to 1. I have talked so much. This one's quick. Financial statements. Okay. So how effective so I love numbers. I just want to say I love numbers. They are there's like nowhere to hide when you start talking about numbers. They're like this beautiful window into exactly how your business is doing. Besides the fact that money is awesome, it is actually so revealing about what's really working in your business and what isn't. So by now, you know what you do, who needs it, what problem you solve. Awesome. Now, how is your business set up to sell that? Do your funnels and strategies serve your primary demographic? And basically just what I want you to look at when you're looking at the numbers is what's really working and what isn't. And here, I have a quick story about this because it's just so telling. So I had this acupuncture client a while back, and he was an acupuncturist, and he was obsessed with marketing, obsessed with marketing. All he wanted to do was go out and get new clients. His roster wasn't full, like his hourly wasn't full. So he wanted to go out and get new patients all the time. And there was such a desperation around it that I could tell something was off. And I didn't really know what it was until we looked at the financial statements, until we looked at what happens in his business. And in his business, you know, acupuncture is like chiropractic care to a certain degree. The benefit happens over time. So over repeated visits, right? It's not like you just, you know, oh, my shoulder hurts and you go in once and it's all fixed. Like, you know, it kind of builds on itself. And so when we looked at his numbers for 1 month, in that one particular month, he had 85 visits, which really isn't bad. That's pretty good. But he had 85 visits in a month, and 0 people came in 3 times a week. 0 people came in 2 times a week. 5 people out of the 85 came in once a week. Everybody else came in fewer than once a week. And I was like, dude, this is the problem. This is why you're struggling. Because first of all, you don't need more clients. He had a list of about 485 people, which if you're selling online products is nothing. But if it's a brick and mortar, and those are people who've actually come in and purchased from you and been in your shop or store or clinic or whatever, that's pretty good. That's a solid practice. And I'm like, look, you've got all these people on your list. You have all these people coming in. But what these numbers are telling me, it's not that your marketing sucks. It's that your sales sucks. You are not adequately selling to get more repeat business from the people you already have. Like, it was just a huge hole in his business. And I'm like, until we fix that, there's no point in doing a whole bunch of marketing to get in new people, because you're just going to get people who are only going to see you once or twice a month. And what's the point? Like, we want to sell to the people who already know you. So anyway, that's my whole thing. But like, that's the kind of insight you can get from looking at the numbers. So I really encourage everyone to do that. Analytics, same thing. I'm sure this is old hat. This is not necessarily anything I need to go into big time on this call, because I'm sure you guys all get analytics and the importance of them. And you just want to look at, like, what's the journey for the customer, what's working, what isn't working, what channels drive your traffic, these kinds of things, right? And then market analysis. You can use the analytics to get some market analysis info. Like, you can look at who your main competitors are, like do some Googling with different keywords, look at your competitors' ads, their landing pages, what do their websites look like. Just do a little comparison between what you're doing and what your competitors are doing. How engaged are they on social media related searches? I love this. This is so much about intention, right? The intention of the marketplace. And use a competitor analysis tool if you want to dive in deeper here. There's a bunch of these. Google that phrase. This is beyond my scope. I don't do a lot of this. But if you're really into the numbers, you can do that. And that's my talk. And this is my little offering.
Awesome. So a ton of great information, a really good approach to a well-rounded look into branding. Diane, tell us a little bit about this brand soul guide that's on the screen here.
So this is basically the slides that I kind of sprinkled throughout. You're going to get one of those that's got 20 plus slides. So it's a really, really comprehensive look at what your brand is about, what you're delivering. We go over really clear language, what the design is, all of those bits, your market structure, your sales funnels, all those things, and really just create a picture of your brand. And part of that is a brand audit. You can see over there on the right. So part of it is a brand audit, but then you also get this soul guide, which is this customized, it'll be like this. It's a Google slide deck where we outline all of that stuff. And this, I don't have it on here, but this is probably going to be a $2,500 service that I'm going to offer. And, but I'm building my portfolio right now. So you guys get in on the good stuff. The first 3 people to sign up, I'll do it for half off. So it'll just be $12.97.
Fantastic. So this is someone's opportunity to get you to do a deep dive into their world and help them express their brand in a very tangible way.
Yeah.
So what is the kind of work you'll be doing with them in this to produce this brand soul guide?
Oh, thanks. That's great. Yeah. So everybody, what's he asking? He's asking for the features. I said the benefits, but I missed the features. Okay, cool. So it'll be at least a couple of calls with me. And then we will also, you'll start out with my questionnaire, which is like really extensive. It's a process in and of itself. It usually takes people a couple of weeks to work their way through it. And then I take the questionnaire, and then I take all of your stuff. I look at your site. I spend time with all your materials. I encourage people to send me as much as they want. And then from all of that, I put together the soul guide, and then we get together, we walk through it. And then we usually have a follow-up call to like tweak it or add things or take away things. I'll review something extra. Usually people get really inspired and they'll create an extra blog post, or they'll finally finish a product, and I'll take a look at those too. So
awesome. So we got a couple of questions here. And by the way, folks, if you have not yet asked your question, please do so over at ithemes.com/chat. Just drop it there in the chat room, and we'll get that question asked to Diane about anything we talked about today, branding, or any of the pieces of this conversation. But Diane, you mentioned something early on about, and I think it's a very wise observation. I've seen the same thing, and that is that the things that we're the best at, I think, can be the things that we personally most easily overlook because we do them naturally. It's that point of our own genius or whatever. What advice would you give to somebody to identify those points of genius that we tend to overlook ourselves?
Oh, well, honestly, I tell you what, if you'll permit me to get a little deep here, what I have found is that the reason that we discount our own gifts is because usually we lived in an environment, we're all different, right? People are different. And even if your childhood was great, usually you lived in a house where people couldn't necessarily see your gifts, right? They see their own gifts reflected in you. And so almost every human being has some experience of a hustle that they've developed as a survival strategy, like as a success strategy in their life, right? Like they try really, really hard to develop the skills that will get them seen. The problem is they're developing skills that their mom and dad were really good at. They're not developing their own inherent skills. And so my advice to my clients is usually a 2-parter of like, look for the hustle. Look for where you're straining. Look for where you're constantly seeking, and maybe you even get a little hit of, ooh, they really liked it and they thought I was good at this, and oh, that's amazing. But ultimately, it lacks. There's a sense of not ever quite being good enough at it, which drives more hustle. So look for that, because those places exhaust you. Even if you're good at them, they're exhausting. And then look for the places that you're over here quietly doing stuff for free. That's always a big kicker for me. It's like, what are you happily doing for free for people? Because I guarantee you that's where some of your genius is. Because you're just doing it because it's fun for you and you're good at it, and you're just showing up and like kind of being of service and like enjoying it. But it's so typical, right? We don't charge for that. It's like that's That's not what got me attention as a kid. That's not going to work. I can't charge for that. Nobody's going to pay for that. And what you're missing is actually people will usually pay a tremendous amount for that.
That's such a great answer. Do you see any value of the opinions of others in identifying those things?
Yes and no. Again, you got to be careful who you ask.
Yeah, right.
You know, because a lot of the times the people who love us are like really great mirrors and reflections, but a lot of times the people who love us, you know, there's all the angst and the crap in the relationship, and just you never know, right? So I would say always go to people who love you, as just like a source of insight. Like go there and see what they think. And then go to people who don't necessarily know you a ton at all, or only have a little bit of exposure to you. The thing that's so funny to me, your gifts shine pretty well all the time. And sometimes I get the best answers from people who don't know me very well. They're just like, oh, well, you just did this and you just showed up and did that or whatever. And sometimes the people who don't know us very well really see us the best, because there's not that, you know, there's not all that drama and years of stuff. So it can be a really good resource. But at the end of the day, the thing that I'm always trying to teach my clients is to develop such a strong inner sense of who you are that you can listen to what other people say and like run it past your inner guidance system to whether it's true or not, or whether you want to invest in it or not.
Great advice. I have one other question that popped in here, and there was a slide early on that had a coffee cup with the F word on it. And the question is, what's your thinking about using profanity in marketing?
That's interesting. I didn't know that. I'm going to have to, oh, yes, I did. Oh, how funny. Yeah, that's right. Oh, how interesting. So first of all, like, I mean, we're learning a lot about my brand right now. But, you know, it's funny. For me personally, I joke. I actually took it off that slide. You know, that slide where I was talking about how I really like believe in truth and I show up and I talk really clearly. One of the first things on that slide was I swear. I do. It's just a matter of course. And I do it less now that I've gotten older than I used to. I don't get as fired up about marketing strategies as I used to. But I still do. And it's every once in a while I'm going to get on a rant and I'll swear a little bit. And it's just one of those things that I've really come to terms with. I'm like, if people don't like it, they're probably not my right person. If somebody's really, really offended, they're probably not going to like working with me for a bunch of reasons, right? Not just that I swear occasionally. It'll actually be, there'll be other things about me that will turn them off. So I don't know. I'm really a big fan of being exactly who you are. You know, there's a lot of rules around how you're supposed to dress in business meetings and how you're supposed to talk and what you're supposed to do. And I think there's a balance between understanding, like demonstrating that you understand things like discretion and appropriateness, and actually sacrificing who you are. So I think striking that balance for you and figuring out where that line is for you is the most important thing.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. Well, all right, folks, we've reached the end of the questions here, and we're reaching the end of the webinar as well. Diane, this has been a really good talk. I'm struggling for the right word, actually. It's been a good, holistic look at how to take a hard look at your own brand. And I think you've given us all some things to think about. Yeah, a lot of thanks coming in the chat room there from everybody as well. So if you had to wrap it all up into one last thing, what's the last thing you want to leave folks with today?
Oh, have more fun. Oh my God, have more fun. The reason I love brand work is it's such an exercise in self-love. I mean, it is just like a constant pat on your own back. I mean, if you do any branding work for yourself, try really hard not to get caught up in shoulds and the, oh my God, market analysis and this and that and my USP. Like, just let all that stuff go and just find ways to cheer yourself on and enjoy yourself and have fun. And do you want to do a quick plug for the next webinar? Because it relates to this one.
Yes, absolutely. And a matter of fact, I should have had that on the screen, and I do not. So give me just 1 second. And actually, for those of you who have already signed up for Diane's webinar next month, We just bumped it back a week. So it's going to be on October the 18th, and I am looking for that link now. Here it is. It's creating a powerful brand that attracts customers. So here is the link in the chat. And Diane, you want to talk about that just a little bit?
Yes. Okay. So you know how I kept hammering home the importance of brand differentiation? That's what that talk is going to be about. That's the entire talk is going to be about how to get really, really clear about positioning and what differentiates you from your competition, how to assess how you're being perceived against your competition. It's that foundational piece. It's a whole talk on that. So it's going to be really good. I think it's going to be a pretty rich talk and a good foundation for this work too.
Absolutely. So if you have not yet signed up for that webinar, the link is there in the chat room at ithemes.com/chat, or you can find it on the list of free upcoming webinars there at training.ithemes.com. Well, Diane, thanks again for being with us. And you guys, this Brand Soul Guide is a great way to get Diane neck deep into your business and to get a good outside perspective on how best to structure your messaging, your visuals, everything it is to build a solid brand for your business. $12.97 half price. You can reach out to her, Diane, at dianewhiddon.com. That email address is there in the chat room as well. So thanks once again, Diane, for being with us today. Thank all of you guys for hanging out with us for the last hour or so. My name is Nathan Ingram, and we'll see you next time here on iThemes Training, where we go further together.